Aloha and welcome to This Is Now. We got a lot of breaking news today, including the U.S. Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, has been ousted. And also we are keeping a close eye on a protest at the Hawaii State Capitol. And let's take you there live now, where native voices from the island of Maui are protesting the restart of the tourism for the West Maui community. Now, Maui County Council member Tamara Paulton and State Senator Angus McCleavely are among those who are delivering a petition to the governor's office. We're told that petition has more than 10,000 signatures to delay the October 8th tourism relaunch start. Right now, the state and county's plan is to allow visitors back into the area this Sunday. Supporters of the idea say many local businesses need the tourists to go there and boost the economy, but others say some residents there are still suffering. Our team is there at the Hawaii State Capitol right now, and we will have more on this in later editions of Hawaii News Now.
Meanwhile, Maui County Mayor Richard Bisson announced a new host housing support program for Maui wildfire survivors. Now, under the initiative, eligible households can receive a monthly stipend for providing shelter for displaced individuals and families. Here's some of what he had to say.
What we want to do in partnership with the Red Cross, with CNHA and the Hawaii Community Foundation is offer $375 per person to stay with a host family, and that monies will go directly to the host family. That'll be capped at $1,500 per month. Again, the idea here is to create or to foster the aloha spirit and the camaraderie that's already existing in our community. I think the number one thing it does is it keeps people with family and friends, people they're familiar with in most cases. But this program can be used by anyone in our community. Most people come up to us and ask, how can I help? Besides volunteering or donating. One way they can help is opening their homes to people who may need to move out of the hotels or want to move out of the hotels.
Now, data shows that about 25% of displaced survivors are staying with friends or relatives. The host housing support program will be piloted for 6 months with a commitment of $4 million, and additional funding may be allocated if the pilot is successful. Now, the money can be used to cover costs incurred by the host families, including rent, utilities, groceries, household improvements, and other necessities. Those interested in applying can do so online at hawaiiancouncil.org/host family or at CNHA's Kako Maui Resource Hub at Maui Mall in Kahului. We have all those details, plus the list of eligibility criteria posted on our website, hawaiinewsnow.com. And now to that breaking news out of Washington, D.C. Kevin McCarthy has become the first Speaker of the House to ever be removed from power through a parliamentary rule called a privilege motion. Now, far-right Republicans joined House Democrats to defeat the Speaker. Skylar Henry has more details from Capitol Hill, including what comes next.
House Speaker Kevin McCarthy has been stripped of his power.
The office of Speaker of the House of the United States House of Representatives is hereby declared vacant.
Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz filed the motion to remove McCarthy after the Speaker turned to Democrats to help pass a short-term spending bill to keep the government open.
The one thing that the White House, House Democrats, and many of us on the conservative side of the Republican caucus would argue is that the thing we have in common, Kevin McCarthy said something to all of us at one point or another that he didn't really mean and never intended to live up to.
But then it was Gaetz who needed Democrats to remove McCarthy.
Kevin McCarthy is not trustworthy. We don't trust him. Their own conference doesn't trust him. We've just lurched from crisis to crisis with him as Speaker.
The decision to vacate the chair means the House will now plunge into a battle to elect the next Speaker of the House, though McCarthy likely can and will run again.
The overwhelming majority of my party supports the Speaker that we elected.
The House Republican drama comes as Congress is still grappling with crucial issues.
We have a government that will shut down in 40 days. We have a Ukraine war that needs to be funded in the next 15 days.
The House cannot proceed on any other issue until a new speaker is elected. Skyler Henry, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Meanwhile, President Biden's son, Hunter Biden, has pleaded not guilty to federal charges stemming from his purchase of a gun in 2018. Now, he appeared in a federal court in Delaware this morning. Natalie Brand has the latest details.
Hunter Biden left the federal courthouse in Delaware Tuesday following his arraignment on federal gun charges. The president's son pleaded not guilty to 3 felony charges stemming from his purchase of a firearm in 2018. He is accused of both lying about his drug use while buying a gun and possessing a gun while using narcotics. The arraignment comes after a plea deal that included the gun charges and misdemeanor tax charges collapsed over the summer.
Hunter Biden, by being part of a plea deal that disintegrated, is subject to a lot more legal exposure than he was last time he walked into that courtroom.
Hunter Biden's attorneys have slammed the gun charges as politically motivated and say they plan to file a motion to dismiss, arguing he's still protected by that plea deal. His legal team is also expected to argue the gun charges are unconstitutional, violating his Second Amendment rights.
So we're going to have the son of the Democratic president of the United States, who's pushing for more gun control, arguing that a statute that says you cannot be in possession of a firearm if you're a known narcotic user actually violates the Second Amendment.
A special counsel appointed by the Attorney General is overseeing the Hunter Biden investigation and could potentially bring charges on tax counts and other violations, although no other charges have yet been filed. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
And now to the latest from Maui, where another victim of the wildfire disaster has been identified. Franklin Trejos' body was found draped over his friend's dog as the 68-year-old tried to protect the golden retriever. It's just one of the absolutely heart-wrenching stories we've heard over the last several weeks. We reported on his death in the early days of the tragedy because his friend confirmed it then. The total estimate of fatalities stands at 97. 91 victims have been officially identified. 2 others have also been identified, but their families have not yet been located or notified. And that means there are just 4 remaining victims that have not yet been identified.
Displaced wildfire survivors can continue to register for both Red Cross and FEMA assistance today. The Red Cross says 2,500 families have established full eligibility for temporary housing as of this morning. That's up from 2,200 on Friday.
90% of all the families that have been taken some hotel room opportunities to begin to be sheltered and heal, 90% of them have now been fully locked in to the next phase of our housing program, leaving only 134 families. They just have to sign up and finalize getting into the programs.
Officials say nearly 150 families were not eligible, but will still continue to receive shelter and services because they had special circumstances.
The Maui County Council is holding meetings Thursday and Friday this week. The Thursday meeting at 8 a.m. will focus on establishing rules for the removal of debris from fire-damaged properties. And Friday's meeting, which takes place at 9 a.m., discusses any necessary changes to the 2024 fiscal year budget. In other news around Hawaii, this Friday's scheduled football game between Castle High and Waianae High Schools has been called off. A joint letter was sent to parents from the principal's office of the schools. In it, they say it was a joint decision between both Castle and Waianae made to, quote, prioritize the safety and well-being of students, staff, and families. Last Thursday, Castle was briefly put into lockdown when students from another school came on campus and started making threats. The next day, Waianae's administration notified parents that they received information about a potential threat to their campus. In the joint letter, the principals say they believe in the power of sports to unite and remain committed to their student athletes.
With drug overdoses on the rise, H&N Investigates has a series of special reports called Smuggled Fentanyl in Hawaii. Now, our chief investigative reporter, Lynn Kuano, traveled thousands of miles to find the source of the deadly drug, and we have a warning for viewers. You may find the video disturbing.
coming in epic proportions, and people are dying.
They didn't know they were doing fentanyl.
What really scares us about Hawaii is we're seeing the fentanyl being mixed in with the meth.
The speedball. We call it a speedball.
Fentanyl has hit Hawaii with force.
Hit her with some Narcan.
First responders are being called to overdoses daily.
Responding.
But what is fentanyl? Where is it coming from? How is it getting to the islands and our neighborhoods? We flew to Southern California to get answers about the flow of drugs to Hawaii, the pipeline to paradise. We got unprecedented access as various law enforcement agencies detailed how they are working to stem the trafficking trade. By sea,
therefore, our tactical teams are looking for narcotics,
land, and air.
It's coming in through our parcel delivery system.
Work to dismantle the distribution network is a constant battle.
So it's very much a cat and mouse game.
A game where victories are only briefly celebrated.
They never make it easy for us.
And misses can have devastating results.
It was just a little small grain of sand that killed him. There's no handbook for losing a child.
It all comes from Mexico, primarily two cartels that are operating down south. Sinaloa cartel and the Jalisco New Generation cartel.
They're the organizations that are making these synthetic drugs. Methamphetamine, which is a big problem in Hawaii, and fentanyl.
Fentanyl is very cheap to make, and the cartels can make it by the millions.
Fentanyl has been a legitimate pain reliever used by medical facilities for decades. Only in recent years did the cartel start producing it illegally. An economical additive, cheap to manufacture, and highly addictive. Fentanyl is 100 times more powerful than morphine, 50 times more powerful than heroin. Like meth, fentanyl is made in clandestine labs, mostly in Mexico. Dangerous operations using chemicals that come from China and India. This year, the DEA arrested Chinese nationals accused of shipping the ingredients to make fentanyl to undercover agents. The precursors were heading to the U.S., but the final destination was Mexico. The recent arrests could cripple fentanyl-making operations, but only temporary. There is plenty of already finished product to go around. Pills, powder, packaged for export and distribution.
Authorities say the majority of the fentanyl, meth, and other contraband comes through here, the border with Mexico. Most of it in cars, trucks, buses, all kinds of vehicles, millions every year.
Searching every one of them is not possible. So while some random searches are done and enforcement operations do happen when there is a tip, for the most part, drivers and their cargo make it through. Pedestrians, too. Once through the border, the narcotics are often pushed north to Los Angeles.
Comes up here, makes its way through various methods, and eventually ends up in Hawaii.
The natural barrier surrounding the islands, the vast Pacific Ocean, doesn't deter smugglers. Since they can't drive it onto our shores, they find other ways. I'm Lynn Kawano, Hawaii News Now.
Craig Ross has been identified as the suspect in a kidnapping that triggered an Amber Alert in New York. Now, the good news is today, the 9-year-old girl is back with her family safe and sound after a massive 2-day search. Ross remains in custody. Jerika Duncan has the update.
Still pretty overwhelming because all of us feared the worst.
New York State Governor Kathy Hochul was emotional when she addressed the media after investigators found 9-year-old Charlotte Senna.
It was every parent's worst nightmare.
According to police, Charlotte went for a bike ride around a loop with friends at approximately 6:15 Saturday night, but she did one last loop alone, and when she didn't return, her parents began looking for her around 6:30 p.m. By 6:45 that night, searchers found her bike on the trail and called 911. New York State Police were on the scene by 7 p.m. They issued an Amber Alert shortly after 9:30 Sunday morning. It was early Monday morning when investigators got a lead. Hochul says it's what eventually led authorities to Craig Nelson Ross Jr.
Assuming they were not home, 4:20 in the morning, opens the mailbox and inserts the ransom note, leaving a critical piece of evidence behind, his own fingerprint.
Around 2:30 Monday afternoon, Hochul said investigators were able to match a fingerprint from the note to the suspect, whose prints were in the state's database. Authorities say he was found in a camper behind his mother's residence in Milton, New York. Hochul said it was there that police found the little girl hidden in a cabinet cupboard.
She knew she was being rescued. She knew that she was in safe hands.
Investigators are still trying to determine a motive. Late last night at that news conference, Governor Kathy Hochul said the suspect had a car registered to a home that was 2 miles away from where the little girl lives. Jerika Duncan, CBS News, Latham, New York.
Thank goodness for a happy ending to that story. Now we want to take you live outside. This is Cincinnati, Ohio, where the temperature is 83 degrees. Here at home, we have some light winds in the forecast through Thursday, but expect those breezy trade winds to come back on Friday and stick around through the weekend. Guy Hagi is going to have your full forecast after this quick break.
How's it on this Tuesday? Locally, things are looking pretty good. Still very quiet in the Central Pacific. However, in the East Pacific, there is a new tropical storm. It's almost 3,000 miles out from us, and it does not pose a threat to us. However, Lydia could become a hurricane over the next few days, so we'll keep an eye on it. Again, it will not pose a threat to us. You can see this morning we have a few spotty showers, really nothing much in terms of significant rainfall. Although with those winds running light and variable today through Thursday, we'll likely see some pop-up showers late in the day into the early evening, but those showers will be clearing out in the overnight hours. So this is what we're seeing today. A few showers mainly for some windward areas this morning with some calm winds. And as the day progresses into the afternoon, look for clouds to build over those leeward spots, and they might even spawn a few pop-up showers, but widespread rain not expected today or anytime soon. Now, as far as the surf, it's going to be looking up by tonight. Look for a northwest swell to pick up again. And then wave heights will likely be at moderate levels, below advisory levels, but a nice solid shot of energy due to north and west shores. And there's also a small pulse due into the south shores later tonight. So those light winds, they'll be hanging on through Thursday, and that means higher than normal humidity levels with some afternoon pop-up showers, but again, mostly dry, especially for those windward areas. And then on Friday, that's when the trade winds pick up, holding firm through Saturday before easing up again on Sunday.
Happening on October 7th is a unique and thrilling fundraiser unlike any of the others out there. Over the Edge is put on by Special Olympics Hawaii. I recently spoke with Garrica Venegas, the development officer with the organization.
Over the Edge is an annual fundraiser for Special Olympics Hawaii that helps raise funds to provide sports, health, education, leadership programs to local athletes with intellectual disabilities. Nearly 100 participants will show their support for Special Olympics Hawaii by rappelling more than 400 feet down the side of the Hyatt Regency Waikiki Beach Resort and Spa. It's definitely a very exciting feeling. Of course, at first it can be a little intimidating, but just the idea of doing something for the Special Olympics Hawaii athletes who face many challenges throughout their day, to be able to do something like this is incredible.
This year is the 14th annual Over the Edge fundraiser. I was lucky enough to take part in this and experience it firsthand in 2021. For me, the most terrifying part was at the very top when you're hanging over the edge just before you start. Leaning back, relying on the lines, I looked down and my heart sank. But it was for a great cause. Special Olympics Hawaii helps so many athletes who work so hard to represent their communities across the state and even internationally.
One of our major competitions back in June, it was the Summer Games, and then we just completed our Aukake Classic as well. So the next one coming up will be in November, and it's called the Holiday Classic. And so there's 3 major competitions throughout the year, along with smaller area competitions in between. And so our athletes continue to compete year-round.
They're aiming to raise over $180,000 to support the athletes, and some of them will be on site during the fundraiser. Now, if you want to go over the edge for a good cause, there are still spots available for you to sign up. But if conquering heights isn't really your thing, you can still support from the ground. For more information, just go to sohawaii.org. And of course, we'll post the details on our website, hawaiinewsnow.com.
Netflix could raise prices a few months after the SAG-AFTRA strike ends. That's according to the Wall Street Journal, citing anonymous sources. The journal reports fees are likely to go up in the U.S. and Canada, followed by several global markets. It's unclear when that could happen or what the revised plans might cost. Netflix says it's already making more off customers by cracking down on password sharing and ending its basic plan. For now, customers can stream with ads or pay up to $20 a month. They have to pay extra to put a non-household member on an account. 6,400 air fryers are being recalled due to fire and burn hazards. The 2 models in question being recalled were sold at Secura's website and Amazon from May 2019 through October 2020 for between $48 and $90. They are black with silver accent, and the brand name is on top of each unit. A wire connection in the fryer can overheat. There were 9 reports of the air fryers catching fire, burning, and smoking. No injuries were reported or property damage. Now, if you have one of those recalled fryers, stop using it and contact Secura for a $45 Amazon gift card or a free replacement.
Time to check out some good news now, and this one is I saw this and it just made me laugh.
I have not seen it yet. I'm very excited. But if you ever need some good party game inspiration, I would suggest you turn to Japanese game shows because they think of everything. So a fun bald head competition was held in northern Japan over the weekend. Now, this is the first time in 4 years for the autumn version of the event to be held in the town of Tsuruta in Aomori Prefecture. Now, the highlight of the event was a tug-of-war competition.
Look at
Here
this.
you go. Using a rope stuck on contestants' heads with suction cups.
Wait for it.
So the winner was the one who removed his opponent's suction cup. Participants also took part in a game of darts in which people tossed cooling gel sheets toward those with bald heads. Here you go. This is what you're looking at. Right.
Hey guys, this is what this segment is all about, making you laugh at the end of the day. I mean, Japan, they think of everything.
Oh, they have some great ones.
Just look at that one more time. Oh, the tension.
So excited.
We got to go around and find the people in our newsroom who can compete in something like this.
Do we have bald people?
I don't think we do. We don't have a lot, actually.
Oh, Jonathan Masaki, hello. Okay, there's one.
Yeah, there we go.
Or someone with a big forehead.
Or someone who's willing to shave their head. I don't know. We'll see. Let's go ahead and end today with this live look out over beautiful Honolulu. Diamond Head off in the distance. We thank you all so much for watching this episode of This Is Now and hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Aloha.